Hi, this is Kevin from Passion for the Word. Before we get into today's video, which I'm kind of excited about, we still have plenty of t-shirts. We're getting a little low on the extra large. If you want one of those, any donation over $20, just send us an email with your address and the size you want, and we'll get one shipped right out to you. Email address will be down in the section below the video. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, share the videos, tell your friends about it, call the neighbors, as David Letterman used to say, phone the kids and all that sort of stuff. Spread the word around, help us get this ministry growing, and pray for us. Today's video is mythical beasts of the Bible. There are at least 4 animals that are listed in the Bible that at first glance you'd think, well, the atheists will actually use these as examples of why you shouldn't believe the Bible, because, well, they're obviously not real animals. Let's take a look at them a little bit and see if they've got a legitimate argument or if they're missing the case. The first one is the cockatrice. The cockatrice is like a chicken on steroids with eagle's feet and a serpent's tail. Pretty mean looking chicken. This is mentioned in the Bible though. Obviously this doesn't exist though, right? So let's look at the verses. It's mentioned in Isaiah 11:8, 14:29, 59:5, and Jeremiah 8:17. So it gets 4 mentions in the Bible. In Isaiah 11:8, and the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp. An asp, for anybody that's not into reptiles, that's a type of snake. And the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den. 14:29, Isaiah 14:29. Rejoice not thou, whole Palestina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken, for out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. Now, fiery, when it refers to a serpent in the Bible, is referring to venomous snakes. They hatch cockatrice eggs, so we know this thing is an egg layer, and weave the spider's web. He that eateth of their eggs dieth, and that which is crushed breaketh out into a viper, another venomous snake. The word for cockatrice that they used in the King James is tsifa. The thing is, that word actually translates as venomous snake. Why the King James translators chose to use the word cockatrice, I'm not sure. Actually, in Proverbs 23:32, the other place that tsifa is used, it actually calls them adders, which is another venomous snake. Little footnote, there are no poisonous reptiles. Poisonous means you can't eat it. Just so you know what you're talking about, when you talk about something that you don't want to be bitten by snake-wise, it's a venomous snake. It injects the venom, just like spiders and scorpions are venomous. They're not poisonous. You can eat them. You can eat any snake you want. But the cockatrice, it's not a mythical beast. It's another way of saying venomous snake. If you notice, every one of the verses, it's referring to snakes in one form or another. Even some of them hits the fiery serpents, which is another mention of venomous snakes. Mystery solved. No reason to disallow the Bible for that. The next mythical beast, the unicorn. It's in the Bible. Obviously, this has to be a problem, right? So let's look at the verses. It's mentioned in Numbers 23:22, Numbers 24:8, Deuteronomy 33:17, Job 39:9 through 12, Psalm 22:21, 29:6, 92:10, and Isaiah 34:7. Now, we're not going to go over all these verses. Don't worry. We're just going to hit a few highlights. The word for unicorn in the Bible is riem. Riem is the Greek word for, we have no idea. We don't know what this animal is. There's a lot of conjecture, but we don't know what riem is. Some texts will say it's an extinct oryx or a type of cattle. I don't believe so, because there's certain verses that will specify one horn. So whatever this animal is, it has one horn. That doesn't make it mythical though. So riem, we have no idea what it means. No idea. Well, in Job, which is our best description, will the unicorn be willing to serve thee or abide by thy crib? Basically, will it stay in your barn? Will it stay in your manger? Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow? Or will he harrow the valleys after thee? So here it's saying, you know, can you harness this animal? Can you hook him up to a plow? Can you work him? Can you domesticate him? Wilt thou trust him because his strength is great? Or wilt thou leave thy labor to him? Wilt thou believe him that he will bring home thy seed and gather it into thy barn? Here let's talk about, you know, basically, can anybody control this animal? Is it domesticatable? This is God talking to Job, showing Job the power of God. In Psalm 92:10, but my horn shalt thou exalt like the horn of an unicorn. I shall be anointed with fresh oil. So here it's talking about one horn. The oryx was a big, basically think of it as a big wild cow, but it had two horns. Right there is what I believe is the unicorn. Remember, we don't know what Riem is. We got a single horn, very aggressive animal. If you could hook this up to a plow, he'd replace 4 horses. I used to mess with draft horses, and I can tell you, this guy could outpull 4 big draft horses. He's got a single horn, and interestingly enough, the Latin name for this animal, it happens to be an Indian rhinoceros, is Rhinoceros unicornis. That is the unicorn. You've probably seen one at the zoo. Unicorns exist. The Bible, the description in the Bible does not describe a dainty little horse with a single horn. It's a big, massive, aggressive, dangerous beast. I think this fits it. There's other things that it could be some extinct animals, but I think this is probably the most likely, the best argument for what the biblical unicorn was. The next one we're going to get to is behemoth. Now, the Greek word for this is behemoth. They just translated it phonetically. They didn't try to turn it into English. So there's no need to worry about that. So what do we know about behemoth? Behold now behemoth, which I made with thee. He eateth grass as an ox. So we've got a plant eater. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force is in the navel of his belly. So we've got another big, strong animal here. He moveth his tail like a cedar, and the sinew of his stones are wrapped together. Now some people will try to tell you that the behemoth is an elephant or a hippopotamus. I don't have enough imagination to describe that tail as being like a cedar. That's like a twig. And when it says the sinews of his stones are wrapped together, only the male behemoth had stones. That should tell you exactly what they are, but they were prominent, evidently. They were prominent enough to be worth mentioning. I'm not sure. I didn't check to see if I could find pictures of male or females, but I can't recall seeing a picture of them where the stones stood out to me. His bones are as strong pieces of brass. So we've got big, powerful stones. His bones are like bars of iron. He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth food, where all the beasts of the field play. He lieth under the shady trees, in the covert of the reed and the fens. The shady trees cover him with their shadow. The willows of the brook compass him about. Behold, he drinketh up a river, and hasteth not. He trusteth that he can draw up Jordan into his mouth. Now, I do take the Bible seriously, and I believe it's literally, but obviously, in this case, it's an exaggeration for a point. The behemoth did not drink whole rivers. That's not what it's saying. It's saying he could drink a lot. He taketh with his eyes, his nose pierceth through snares. I believe that's our behemoth. People say, well, how would Job know about the behemoth? There were dinosaurs on the ark. This is a topic we haven't covered a whole lot, but there's no reason to believe dinosaurs were not on the ark I believe in a young earth. We'll cover more of that when we do some more of the creation talk and talk on Noah's Ark. But the description, one of the reasons why I think we can say that Behemoth was a dinosaur and that dinosaurs did exist with man is because of this description in Job. I don't know any other animal that could fit this description. And I meant to look this up, but if I recall, there's 20-some animals mentioned in Job. 3 of them we're talking about in this video of mythical beasts, but the others are all solidly well-known existing animals. There's no reason to deny or doubt that these 3 that we're not sure exactly what they are would be any less real. But I believe there's our behemoth. It matches the description perfectly. Imagine the stones on these guys. The last animal we're going to look at, Leviathan. And here again, the Greek word for this is Leviathan. We don't really know what it is. Some will conjecture crocodile, but from the description we've got, also in Job and a few other places, we've got it, Job 41, 1, it's mentioned, it describes it as you go on in Job though, but the words only mentioned Job 41, 1. Psalm 74, 14, 104, 26 mention it, and Isaiah 27, 1 mentions it, and of course, okay, let's take a look at these verses. In Psalms 74, 13 and 14, thou didst divide the sea by the strength. Thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the water. Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces and gavest him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. Now, one thing I want to touch on is the word dragon here. Dinosaurs, the word dinosaur wasn't invented until around the 1840s. Before that time, they were called dragons, when they would find bones of them and so on. One interesting point, when we first started scientifically looking at them, when the iguanodon was the first dinosaur discovered that was called a dinosaur. When they assembled the bones, they got it wrong several times. It took quite a while before they could assemble it right. So when people try to say that these ancient people just looked at the bones and from that they were able to figure out what the animal looks like, modern science couldn't do that just looking at the bones. They got it wrong several times before they figured out how to do it right. To think that these people didn't see these animals is just not realistic. Psalm 104:25. So is this great and wide sea, wherein are things creeping innumerable, both small and great beasts. There go the ships, there is that Leviathan, whom thou hast made to play therein. So we're talking, it's a creature that lives in the sea. Canst thou draw out Leviathan? This is in Job 41. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook, or his tongue with a cord which thou lettest down? Canst thou put a hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn? Will he make many supplications unto thee? Will he speak soft words unto thee? Now here, this is God talking to Job, explaining to him, talk about his power. You know, look at what God is saying, look at what I've done, trust me. Will he make a covenant with thee? Talk about Leviathan. Wilt thou take him for a servant forever? Wilt thou play with him as with a bird, or wilt thou bind him for thy maidens? Shall the companions make a banquet of him? Shall they part him among the merchants? Canst thou fill his skin with barbed irons? Can you basically puncture him with weapons? Lay thine hand upon him. Remember the battle. Do no more. Behold, the hope of him is in vain, or foolish. So to think that you can do these things is foolish or false. Shall not one be cast down even at the sight of him? Even seeing this creature, it's dangerous. It strikes fear in people. None is so fierce that dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand before me? God's saying, I created this thing that nobody is brave enough to stand up against, and I created him. Trust me. Who hath prevented me that I should repay him? Whatsoever is under the whole heaven is mine. I will not conceal his parts, nor his power, nor his comely proportion. Who can discover the face of his garment, or who can come to him with his double bridle? Who can open the doors of his face? His teeth are terrible round about. It's a pretty vicious animal. His scales are his pride, shut up together as with a close seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one to another. They stick together, they cannot be sundered. So we got some very tight-fitting scales. Now, I don't know if you've seen the, I should have gotten this picture ready. There was a dinosaur recently found that was perfectly preserved, not the bones, the body. And it shows the scales, and it's amazing how much this, this actual dinosaur that we have the body of looks like a Chinese dragon. But you look at the scales, this would have been a formidable creature to go up against. I'm not saying that that creature is a Leviathan, because that was a land creature. But just the connection here, it seems pretty strong, the way the scales were fit together. By his neesings, a light does show. Now, neesings is a King James way of saying sneezes. So when he sneezes, a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go burning lamps or torches, and sparks of fire leap out. Sounds like we're talking about what we would call a fire-breathing dragon. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke, as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindleth coals, and a flame goeth out of his mouth. In his neck remaineth strength, and sorrow is turned into joy before him. The flakes of his flesh are joined together. They are firm in themselves. They cannot be moved. His heart is as firm as a stone, yea, as hard as a piece of the nether millstone. When he rises up himself, the mighty are afraid. By reason of breakings they purify themselves. The sword of him that layeth at him cannot hold, the spear, the dart, nor the habergeon. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. He esteemeth iron as straw. So to him, iron is like straw. And brass as rotten wood. These things just don't affect him. The arrow cannot make him flee. Sling stones are turned with him into stubble. Darts are counted as stubble. He laugheth at the shaking of a spear. Sharp stones are under him. He spreadeth sharp pointed things upon the mire. This animal is not afraid of anything that we can throw at him. He maketh the deep. Now, when it refers to the deep, it's talking about the deep parts of the ocean. Whenever you see the deep in the Bible, it's talking about the depths of the water. He maketh the deep to boil like a pot. He maketh the sea like a pot of ointment. He maketh the path to shine after him, and one would think the deep to be hoary. Upon earth there is not his like, who is made without fear. He beholdeth all high things. He is a king over all the children of pride. Sounds crazy. I mean, it sounds like we're talking about a real fire-breathing dragon, oddly enough, in the ocean. Well, you can choose at this point to believe the Bible or not. I choose to believe the Bible. Do I believe it falsely? Do I believe it on blind faith? Or is there maybe something in science that we can look to that would maybe make this a little less incredible? I think there is. I think the argument for just because we don't have any of these in a zoo or haven't captured any one of these in modern times doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There's new discoveries all the time. This creature may be extinct today. The ocean's a huge place. Maybe we just haven't found them. Only recently did they actually get recordings of a live giant squid down in the depths. They hadn't gotten that. All the ones that they had were dead. Ocean's a big place. So what do we have alive today that maybe isn't too far from this? This is a beetle called the bombardier beetle that, as far as I'm concerned, it defies evolution. Now, the first thing to remember with evolution is it takes place in small steps. When you ask an evolutionist, why don't we see it taking place today? They'll say, because the changes are very tiny. You've got a population of something, let's say a bug hatches out a bunch of eggs. One of the babies that comes out of that egg, one of the larvae, is slightly better, has a slight advantage over all the compatriots at that time. Maybe he's got better camouflage, better hunter, faster, something that allows him to reproduce just a little bit better, even after he breeds back into the regular population. For that benefit to pass on, it has to be immediate. It can't be something that builds and takes 3 steps. Remember, they don't believe in God. They want to say this happened strictly driven by natural selection. Well, if it's driven by natural selection, the benefit has to be immediate. You have to be faster right now. You can't develop legs that need 3 steps before you actually get the benefit. The benefit needs to be now. Now, when I describe what this bug can do, ask yourself how this could take place in steps. You take one of these steps away, it doesn't work. What this bug can do, what you're seeing here spraying out, is a hot liquid gas that's above the temperature of boiling water. It can spray it out of this nozzle. It can spin it 360 degrees. It can shoot it in any direction it needs to shoot it. Now, the way it does this is it first mixes 2 chemicals together within its body. These 2 chemicals are explosive. So if this step is messed up, the first bug to come along and mix these 2 chemicals together, it gets it wrong, boom, he's dead. He's not passing on any genes. So evidently the first one was lucky enough to mix a 3rd chemical that neutralizes the first 2 chemicals and stops them from being explosive. Well, that's worthless. Now he doesn't have anything. Right before he sprays them out, the bug adds a 4th chemical that neutralizes the neutralizing agent and causes the explosive or the extremely hot, higher than boiling water temperature liquid gas that he sprays at whatever's attacking him. Now, this comes out not just in a steady stream, because of course that would damage the bug. It comes out in a very high, like a fully automatic rifle. I can't remember how many times a second it is, but it's just really fast. If you see it happening, it looks like one spray or just it's just extremely several shots a second. Very rapid to save the bug from being affected by this. Because of the power that it comes out, it acts like a jet. So the bug also, the bombardier beetle also has special feet to help it hold on to everything, because even if all this happened in one generation, if in that one generation when he shot this stuff here, he launched it and splattered into a tree, he doesn't get to pass it on to anybody. This is a real problem for the evolutionists to explain, because everything to be any kind of benefit had to come together. Just one of those chemicals by itself doesn't do anything. 2 of those chemicals, just the 2 of them, the bug dies. 3 of them, we're back to nothing again. It takes all 4 chemicals plus a directional 360-degree nozzle plus the feet, plus on top of all that, the bug has to know how to do all this and to know when to do it. You don't want to do this when your girlfriend's coming up and you're about to mate with her. That's going to also stop them from passing on the genetics. He has to know to do it when he's being attacked. All of this in one generation. I don't believe evolution can explain that. So now we have an example of a bug that sprays very hot gas at its enemies. So we're not that far from a fire-breathing dragon. Do we have anything else? Is this the only thing we have? We have some fossils. Now, this is taken from Duane Gish's book, Dinosaurs by Design. We have different skulls of dinosaurs. Of course, we don't know that they breathe fire, but we do know that there are passages inside the skull of this particular dinosaur and others. There are passages in there that we have no idea what they did. No idea. And you figure the 4 chemicals in the bombardier beetle, we're able to take that thing apart and look at it and see the chemicals and figure out how they work. If we just had dead ones to work with, say fossilized ones that we found in amber, we'd have no idea that thing could spray that gas. So to wonder, was it possible that this dinosaur could breathe fire? I'd say you'd be foolish to say it was impossible. You don't know. The Bible makes the case that it happened. We have examples of dinosaurs with passages. We've got bugs alive today that do similar things. We have every culture throughout history has legends of fire-breathing dragons. It sounds, the likelihood that they all imagined out of thin air the same thing, whether it be in South America, North America, Europe, China, they all had the same imagination for a beast that never existed. I find that harder to believe than they're remembering something at some point in our history that actually did breathe fire, or exhale fire, not breathe it in, but exhaled fire somehow. I think the case is there for that. Those are the four mythical beasts that I wanted to bring up that atheists will say disprove the Bible. I really don't think that they do. I think they, if anything, they confirm the Bible. Some of them, like the unicorn, the word has changed. Some of them, like the cockatrice, it was a poor choice of words for the Bible. Venomous snake would have been a better one, but the behemoth and the leviathan, I think they are referring to dinosaurs. The evidence, I think, is overwhelming for that. And the fact that man did, at one point at least, live side by side with dinosaurs, as would be claimed in the Bible. That's all the mythical beasts that I'm aware of in there. Please continue to share these videos, tell your friends about them, and keep praying for us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, and God bless.